So, good morning, Uinta Utes. School is out in 1 week. Summer vacation is just 1 week away. How do you plan to spend your vacation? So, I'm assuming some of your families have plans already made for you, like, maybe you're lucky and you have some beach vacation, or maybe you have a family reunion where you get to wear all those nifty shirts that look all the same. Or maybe your mom has been saving some great yard projects for you. Or maybe you're lucky and you get to go camping or fishing. Or maybe some of you have your own special plans, like, I don't know, the Guinness Book of World Records for the most fish lip selfies. Or maybe you're going to, improve your Cheeto gaming skills. I don't know. But what about why not make your summer mean more than just Cheetos and selfies? What about spending some time volunteering? What is a better way of making your summer count than to volunteer to help someone or help your community in some way? Gandhi said that the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. And if you don't know who Mahatma Gandhi is, you need to find out. But if he's too old or whatever, what about Ashton Kutcher?
The sexiest thing in the entire world is being really smart and being thoughtful and being generous. Everything else is crap, I promise you. It's just crap that people try to sell to you to make you feel like less. So don't buy it. Be smart, be thoughtful, and be generous.
So listen to two of the smartest people in the world, right? Gandhi and Ashton. Tons of studies have proven that volunteering makes you healthier, makes your brain healthier, your body healthier. It makes you happier. And Ashton just told us it makes us sexier. But if you don't want to volunteer to be happy, healthy, or sexier, then what about volunteering to help you get into college or to make some money for college? Our booster club this year and private scholarships gave away over $7,000, and every application had a question on it asking students to list their extracurricular and their service activities and how they changed the world, how they made the world a better place. And we're not the only ones asking that. What about this?
Big change that could be coming to college admissions. More than 50 well-known colleges and universities have endorsed a new report encouraging schools to focus more on community service, less on test scores.
I love this.
Juju's here with the details. Hey, Juju.
Hey, George. It includes the entire Ivy League. We're talking about elite universities. The report is called Turning the Tide, aimed at ratcheting down the pressure in the frenzied college application game. Instead of massive resume padding, the educators are hoping to shift the emphasis away from personal achievement and more towards a new kind of personal service.
It's no secret, college applications seem scarier than ever. A recent study showing teens even more stressed out than adults. This morning, a new report released by the Harvard-based group Making Caring Common is trying to tackle the issue. The report, endorsed by more than 50 colleges, including the entire Ivy League, says that teens are taught to emphasize personal success rather than concern for others.
Achievement's clearly important, but achievement has to be balanced with concern for others and concern for the common good. We can't just reward those who achieve.
Changing the college application process, they say, would send a strong message to young people.
This is the first time in history that colleges have banded together across the country and said that ethical character is important.
In fact, MIT, one of the report's endorsers, has already begun to make changes.
You changed your essay question to involve community as opposed to some sort of achievement highlight.
That's right. We want to know, how have you affected those around you and made those around you better? Because that's important.
So we aren't talking about, like fluffy bunny second-rate schools. that are doing this. We're talking about Harvard and MIT and Duke. And not just those schools, but we as counselors met with the BYU representative earlier this week. His advice for seniors wanting to get into BYU: in your essays, focus on several different areas of interest. They don't want somebody who's just interested in one thing. But most important, discuss how your service has changed yourself, your character, and your community. So they are wanting people who are interested in other people. So how do you find these service opportunities? First of all, look at what you're doing. Do you visit your grandma at the care center, or do you read to your little brother and sister? Do you gather food for the scouts once a year? Why not take what you're doing and just do it bigger and better or more? Why not play bingo with all the seniors once a month instead of just visiting your grandma? Volunteer at the library to read to other kids, not just your little brother and sister. Organize a pet food drive in your neighborhood and donate the bags of pet food to our food shelter or our animal shelter. Look at what's going on in our community or at your church and offer to help. I just looked up, I did a quick search for Vernal Area Chamber of Commerce. In the next 2 months, there are at least 2 charity golf tournaments and Relay for Life, and then there were other things that were going on. Volunteer to help with any of those. Or find something that you're passionate about doing, like donating blood or helping with Special Olympics, and volunteer to help with those. And if none of that really sounds important to you, just do a Google search for volunteer ideas. And you can always look up justserve.org. They have volunteer opportunities that are specific to our community. But, all of that work cannot help you if you can't remember what you did or when you did it when you're a senior. So write it down. Better yet, post it in your college and career plan on your student webpage in Aspire. Keep listing everything. Then when it's time to apply for colleges and scholarships, you have it right where you need it. So take time to make your summer amazing by volunteering or serving in our community. Remember, helping others achieve their dreams will help you achieve yours. And since we're talking about working for dreams, there's this great inspiring video going around right now about someone in our own community, someone you may have seen even running or biking around our town. So we wanted to show it to you. This is a great video.
Battle to walk every day to get out and do some of the things I loved. I let fear take over. I was afraid, what my life will look like. Will I ever play with my kids? Will I ever keep my job? Will I keep food on the table? Will my wife find me attractive? Will I get to do the things I love? Will I ever be happy again? My name is Sydney Smith. I live in Vernal, Utah, and I was born with a disease called Charcot-Marie Tooth. It's a genetic disorder and progressively got worse. I didn't know I had it until I was 12 years old. Growing up, I was bullied. I tripped a lot. I wasn't very good at sports, and when my parents took me to the doctor and tried to figure out what was wrong with me, that's when they noticed I had some major feet problems. As I got older, things started progressing. I was given special braces, and it kind of helped for a little bit, but it slowly got worse. Started getting more arthritis, more broken bones, infections and all that from my ankles and my feet pretty much rolling underneath me. And I knew something had to be done, just because by the end of the day it was a battle. Walking to the bathroom was a battle. That's when I went and saw a specialist, and he took a look at my feet. And after many surgeries, there wasn't much more he could do. So I was given a few options. Pretty much, I can fuse everything together and have a lifestyle, possibly in a wheelchair, or we could try prosthetics. As a young father, I wanted to play with my kids, so that's where we ended up going, is deciding on an amputation. It was a lot of confusion. You know, what will life be like as an amputee? It just sounds like a game over process. So as we looked at it, I still had a job, I still had things I needed to do, family to feed. So we decided to just do 1 foot at a time, just because I needed to drive still, and get around in crutches seemed a lot easier than a wheelchair. The night before the amputation, I decided to just walk on cold grass. That feeling of cold grass is just a beautiful feeling. I was afraid, obviously, because there's no turning back at this point. You know, at first waking up, it's, you know, kind of demoralizing because you look different. You know, even though my feet were pretty much destroyed, they were still my feet. And it's a part of me that I'll never have back. But, you know, I went through it anyways. So I went through the left foot first, and, you know, got a prosthetic, was able to walk for a moment, even do a few things with one prosthetic. And unfortunately, the limb got infected. And I had major phantom pain, where I could still feel all the pain I was feeling before in my feet, but it was still there. And went to the doctor, and he looked at it and noticed that the infection started eating the bone and all kinds of problems, and so they needed to amputate even higher. And that's kind of where I hit rock bottom at this point. You know, it was very, very depressing, and basically letting fear in my life take over, and you know, to the point where I wanted to hurt myself. But you know, I'm glad I didn't. I just held on to a little thing, you know, just to believe that things are going to get better. And so I decided to tell the doctor, I said, let's go ahead and reamputate, fix up that limb, and I'm done with hospitals, I'm done with hospital food, and amputate both at the same time. And so as November of 2015 is when I officially became a double amputee. So I had them both amputated and spent a lot of time in the hospital, just learning how to get around with no legs. I had to teach myself how to go to the bathroom and shower and get dressed and cook and do all these things. I also had a lot of downtime. While in the hospital, I was watching TV, and on TV it just so happened to be the Ironman Championship in Kona. It's amazing. I mean, that race is huge. It's a 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike, and a 26.2 mile run. It's just amazing. I mean, I was inspired. I thought that was the coolest thing. The stories and the hard work that people put into it, you know, definitely inspired me. But at the same time, I was sad and depressed, and just because I'm sitting in the hospital with no freaking legs. And I thought, that's not something I could do. It's impossible. But during that time watching it, there was actually an amputee competing in the race, and I about jumped out of my bed and thought, holy cow, maybe that's something I could do. And then it hit me, you know, right then and there. If I can get out of this bed and get to walking, that's what I want to do. I wanted to do a triathlon and work my way up into doing an Ironman distance. as soon as the doctors gave me the okay, like the stitches were healed, so they didn't, obviously we didn't want to have another infection. They said I can go swimming, and that was the first step, is to swim and swim. I had to reteach myself how to swim. I was a pretty good swimmer. I did swimming in high school. I did swimming a little bit in college. My parents said I started swimming when I was 3, but I had to reteach myself because I couldn't kick. And in Ironman and any triathlon competition, you can't have prosthetics in the water. So spent a lot of time taking a lot of film, putting the GoPros under the water just to see how I can improve, and practice and practice and practice. I got better to the point where I was pretty much where I was before I lost my legs. And then I got a prosthetic and was able to walk, and started trying to walk further and further to the point where I can maybe do a little jogging. And one day I was able to run maybe 100 yards, and then it turned into 125 yards. And then some days it was 10 yards. And then some days it was 200, 300, to the point where I can run around the track. Got better at it, where I can go further and further. And finally, about 6 months from my amputation is when I competed in my first triathlon. Later that year, I was given a pair of Fillauer running blades from an organization called Amputee Blade Runners. Last year I did St. George 70.3 Ironman, and then later that fall I did the Boulder, Colorado 70.3 Ironman. And this year I am trying to take it to the next level, focus on my weakness, which is running, and do a full marathon. And as a motivation for me, I want to try to raise money also to Amputee Blade Runners, so that way they can make a prosthetic leg for somebody else that wants to run like me. And then after that, the next step will be the full Ironman. There's just more of a mental game, and that mental strength is an advantage no matter what. And some of the trials that I've had, with my feet has taught me those lessons, is that you have to get through it. It's a mental game, and you have to overcome it. And bow hunting just exfoliates that in your soul, and that's kind of where that addiction has started. Well, as a kid growing up hunting, it was the event of the year was hunting, especially the deer hunt here in Utah, and loved it. But with the disease, it was hard. But as an amputee, I was able to walk better with less pain because of the prosthetic. It gave me the options to do things I've always wanted to do. And come to find out, I got pretty good at it. Oh my gosh, my heart is beating so fast. This is amazing. I had a lot of compliments, and experts say I could actually do really well in the mountains. And so, from just being a rifle shooter, I took it to the next level and started getting into the backpacking, and started getting into bow hunting. And just because of that challenge, that I now can do it, and I was getting better at it and able to hunt quite a bit. One of the things that kept me going and kept me pushing was my family. My kids and my wife, they've just been a great support. It's a lot to ask for. I have the most amazing family. My kids were so understanding, and my wife, although it was a struggle for me, it was a struggle for her. And I'm just grateful, because that's really that kept me going and kept me pushing each day, was to have their support. When I was afraid, and I let fear take over my life, I could have chose to either end it or sit at home and thought, woe is me? Why me? Why does this have to happen? Or I could not do that and pick myself up and continue to push. Yeah, I fell a few times, but I got myself back up. And, you know, from what I hope people see about me and my story is that, you know, life is hard, and fortunately it gets harder as we go, but we're going to get better at it. And the more that we overcome our challenges, the stronger we're going to be. Challenges is really what makes life interesting. It's overcoming them that's going to make it meaningful.
So it's pretty awesome. I love it when he says that life is hard, but you know what? We can make life easier for someone else. And when we do that, we make life better for us too. So, from everyone in the counseling office, we wish you a safe and a world-changing summer.